So yeah, let's just get obviously the biggest news of the week on IGN has been the fact that Scalebound has been canceled.
This was super sad news for me.
Yeah.
Rumors started circulating a little bit before this got confirmed by Microsoft, right?
Yeah, well, so I said a month ago that I thought it was going to be canceled, and a lot of people made a lot of real mean videos about me on the internet.
I said
That never happens. Mean videos about us on the internet.
I said a month ago that I thought the collector's edition would come with an actual dragon, and weirdly, nobody got mad at me at all. Everyone
Well, Marty,
was
now
fine
you get all
with that.
Because they were like, that would be awesome.
You'll get all the apology videos now.
Oh no, those don't exist.
The same thing happened with me before No Man's Sky came out. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think this game's going to be very good, and people were really mad. Didn't get any apology.
I'm going to make a weekly apology video where I just apologize for being on the internet.
Yeah. So Microsoft released a statement. After careful deliberation, Microsoft Studios has come to the decision to end production for Scalebound. We're working hard to deliver an amazing lineup of games to our fans this year, including Halo Wars 2, Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves 1, and other great experiences.
In all seriousness, this super bums me out. I was really excited for Scalebound to be kind of that game that is something, it's a new IP, give it a chance, try it out, support new ideas. And then there's like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I was sad.
I mean, it was
It's also platinum.
an ambitious Japanese action RPG, which is something you don't really associate with Microsoft consoles.
And
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know. The positive of this is that pulling that away maybe means that they are going to have to focus even harder on all of the other properties that they're putting out this year, because
Yeah.
they have one that they have to take out, and it's pretty early in the year, so they have to keep
Yeah.
doing that.
I mean,
now
so
they can focus on their PlayStation exclusives.
when they say an amazing lineup of games for fans this year, they mentioned all those games, which is them hinting that all those games are coming out in 2017, which I think there's absolutely no way that happens. Like, we know Halo Wars 2 is for sure.
Yes.
That's coming out in like a month. You got to play some recently. You probably can't talk about it yet, but
Yeah, stuff's under embargo until the 19th, but me and Brandon Tyrell did get to go over to the Xbox Loft and play Halo Wars 2, a pretty significant chunk of it, so stay tuned to IGN on the 19th for that stuff.
I made that remark because for me, Platinum's a fantastic studio, obviously, to a lot of people, and it just sucks that now we've lost our Xbox exclusive from that
Well,
studio.
yeah, but what I was saying is like that means they have to go even harder with delivering on the other Xbox exclusives, right?
yeah.
Does this mean we definitely
You
get
mean
Crackdown?
Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean Microsoft, not
Yeah.
Platinum.
Yeah, but this is worrisome because so Scalebound was revealed E3 2014 alongside Phantom Dust, which was canceled,
Yikes.
Fable Legends, which was canceled, and Project Spark, which came out
can't
but
buy
ceased.
anymore.
It ceased development.
Want to try
Did
something
you play
creative?
Project Spark,
A
by the
little
way?
bit. Mitch and I messed around with it a little
I
bit.
love Project
Yeah.
Spark. That was a great game.
Yeah,
Mitch liked
but when
it a
you
lot.
think about this E3, this was also Crackdown 3 was at this E3, still
Yep.
not out yet. Like
Crackdown 3 's fine.
The main, I don't know.
Have you
A
played
week
it?
ago,
I
Scalebound was
played
fine.
it.
right? Yeah.
It's good.
I don't know if it's fine. Like I
Yeah.
think it is fine for us to be a little bit worried about what's going on here.
So I think Ryan brought up a good point. Like, in the wake of this news, I saw him tweet like a tweet storm of just thoughts about this, and he's like, "It's fine to question the bigger picture and wonder about things, but I don't think it's any reason to panic." Like Microsoft
People
pointed out,
panic.
like there's a lot of big games coming out this year that are exclusive to Xbox / the Microsoft platform, and those games are going to be awesome. Like, I am not really worried about Crackdown or Sea of Thieves or
I
any
think
of
it is
those
fine to have a
games.
question mark with Crackdown, State of Decay, and Sea of Thieves. There are three games I'm
State of
excited
Decay
about.
is fine.
What is it? We have a piece of concept art.
We know
It's
very
fine.
little about the three of them.
I mean, I think
Don't stop asking questions.
a month ago, Scalebound was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think it's all right for us to be a little bit worried. Like, I'm not selling my Xbox One. I am excited for these games.
Halo Wars
but
is good, right?
Microsoft, Halo Wars is all right, but it's not gonna set the world on fire. Like, I love Halo. I'm not that excited.
It's
for
very
Halo
much
Wars.
like Halo Wars, like the Halo Wars 2, I think is going to be a game for those people who are hardcore Halo fans. Like, and I mean, not even just in terms of the Halo mainline games, but people who love the universe and the lore enough to want to play a game like that.
Yeah.
Like me, which I think a lot, like the first Halo Wars was like that too. Like, I got into it because I was like, I really, really love Halo. I just want more Halo story. And then I played that game with like tempered expectations and was like, wait, this is actually pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it also looks cinematic and beautiful. Like, I'm definitely into Halo Wars too. Like, on your point, like, I think it sucks that we're not getting Scalebound, but I think that entire press conference, what is 2014? That was the year after that basically terrible Xbox One launch where it was like online only, Connect. Like, I feel like that was them making up for it and just scrambling and having so much to fix that they
and
didn't
looking
really know
too
what
far
to do.
ahead and showing
Yeah,
games that
being
were
like,
way too early
we
in
really need
development.
to do this.
Yeah.
But that's what Sony does. They're just
I mean, Sony
like
did the same thing this year.
concept trailer logo.
I mean, Death
Well, I mean,
Stranding, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it a console war. Like, that's a totally separate discussion, I think. My point here is just that I feel like that year, the fact that so many things fell through doesn't surprise me because that was their make good year where they were like, we really have to do a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, I
So
think
you think they announced too early? Like that you think they should have
Yeah.
I think 90% of games are announced too early.
That's also
Yeah, I
had
think what
that discussion
Microsoft needs to do, especially this year's E3, is I feel like they need to go back to sort of their smaller / indie focus. Like we know stuff like Cuphead's coming out. We know stuff like Below and
we
Tacoma.
happy for you. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and so they need to like with Sony
New
sort of
indies.
Yeah, Sony's
not
indie
those.
presence hasn't
know.
been
Yeah.
great in the last year. So I think it'd be great if Microsoft Conference this year was a ton of these smaller, awesome-looking games that are all going to be coming out within the 6 months of E3.
I'll bet you they do that, but at the same time, like we plan to see Scorpio later this year, right? So I'll bet you they're saving a lot of their like trump cards for that.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll bet you there's some big games that are going to be Xbox Scorpio launch titles, I guess that we
Yeah,
would
for
call
lack of
them,
a better term.
that they're just not even talking about yet because they want to drop like a big bomb at a conference like E3.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like regarding Scalebound, like I know a lot of people kind of had, like they saw the gameplay at Gamescom. I was at Gamescom where they first did that like 20-minute chunk of gameplay.
Yeah.
And it ran roughly, but it looked really interesting to
Yeah,
me.
it
And
looked like Dragon's Dogma, which I was like, sold.
yeah, plus like like you guys brought up the point that it's a new IP, and in this like era of remakes, HD remasters, reboots, all that stuff, like it's important to support new IPs. So one, I wanted to get on board for that, but also I'm a huge believer in Kamiya-san. Like me and
Yeah.
Caleb in 2013 went out to Osaka and visited Platinum. We made this mini documentary, which you can check out on IGN.com, called Hideki Kamiya's Secret Video Game Arcade. And it's just about his video game philosophy and how his history with video games growing up has influenced how he makes video games. And if you take a look at the games he's made, like Okami,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Beautiful
he's
Joe,
Resident Evil
and
2, Bayonetta,
Yeah.
Wonderful
Exactly.
101. Yeah.
every one of these games is incredible and very stylistically different. So I was just really excited to see a guy like that take on a game like this.
Yeah, and so people also were a little worried about what does this mean for Platinum, because Platinum in the last couple of years they
They're fine.
released Wonderful 101 and you can't just say they're fine. They
know,
released
yeah,
Wonderful
so
101. and
Everything's
Bayonetta-
fine, Marty.
Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 2, which were released only on Wii U and did not sell well.
But they're
then
releasing
they also
huge
had,
IPs. They're
like,
releasing the Ninja
they were
Turtle game.
Korra,
yeah, those
like
don't sell well.
TMNT and
Those don't sell
Transformers.
well, and those don't.
No. But my point is like, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm
like,
sure.
that you kind of people have brought up this point that like you have like A tier Platinum, which is like Bayonetta and stuff like that, and then you have these kind of shovelware titles that
It's
they
like
do
they
those
do
are
like
their
Life
for
of
the
money
bank.
makers.
They're
Yeah.
not their money makers.
No, they're not.
They do not sell, and they don't make a lot of money.
Well,
to
that's
make them.
scary then.
And they
Legend
don't
of
do
Korra
critically.
didn't-
That's something I
wasn't
didn't
very
realize.
No, yeah. So that's the thing is their cash grabs don't get them cash, and they spent 4 years on this game, which will possibly never see the light of day unless they buy back the IP.
The thing is, what if their cash grabs actually do get them cash from the people who own the license to those products? Like, what if Platinum is paid to make the thing from Nickelodeon?
From what I've heard, that's not the case.
So I also think like
Strange
those
choice.
games are kind of relative to a game like Scalebound, they are cheap to produce.
Yes.
Yes.
Like that, I played that Transformers game, and it's like it's not the best game in the world, but it's decent. And like playing it, you're like, this game, they definitely made it in like.
But it
than a
hurts
year.
the name of the studio. Like if Naughty Dog every other year released a licensed game that got 6s, that would hurt the name Naughty Dog.
Okay, but at the
Well,
same time,
think
if
about-
Naughty Dog released like something like Uncharted: The Lost Legacy or like Left Behind for The Last of Us every year, which they seem to be sort of doing, that are like 4-hour small things, sold.
But if they're good,
Yeah.
Studios can do that.
yes, if they're
You're
good, I'm
absolutely-
totally behind
look,
that.
look at Insomniac might be a good example because they have Ratchet and Clank and a lot of their flagship titles, but every once in a while they'll release something that's not that great.
I mean, they
And
released a bunch of VR stuff.
bunch of
this
VR
year.
stuff and
but
Song
it's
of the
good,
Deep.
actually.
Yeah.
They get a
Except
pass.
Song of
Yeah.
the Deep, I hate that.
But
But Kamiya
yeah,
also
yeah.
tweeted. Did you read these?
Yes, you can go on. He did a little tweet storm, so you can read those.
He said, as you may have already heard, Scalebound has unfortunately been cancelled. I'm very sorry to everyone who was looking forward to this game. Sorry to bring you such bad news at the start of the year. All I can do for you is promise to keep delivering fun games. I'll work extra hard to never have to let you down like this again. So I hope you will keep watching over us in the future too. And I took time off for my mental health. Me? No way. This is
So,
really
yeah, there was a
sweet.
rumor that was like he had a nervous breakdown and left the studio, and
That would
this was him
explain it.
squashing, being like, "No, that didn't happen." Because he's also like, if you don't follow Kami on Twitter, he's one of the funniest people on Twitter. Because he just
Legitimately one of my favorite.
yeah, he will
Oh,
just
he's the one who
publicly
blocks
block everyone.
He's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Like people think I've met him
Yeah.
in real life and hung out with him. Super sweet guy,
Yeah.
like totally awesome and charming and really funny. Very like soft spoken.
I mean,
And then
the dude
he's
who made
this
Okami has to
big
be
troll
Like that. Yeah.
on Twitter, which
This
is like my
is
favorite
slightly
thing.
a side note, but one thing that I find really interesting about internet culture is you know the Chinese water torture, how you get a dot on the middle of your forehead.
What?
This is totally an interesting
It's
point.
taking a left turn here.
So, people like getting one dot on the middle of your forehead isn't a problem. It's the fact that you get so many of them. So I was reading this study about why people who are prominent on the internet are more likely to be rude to people when they're really, really nice in person, like him. It's because they get so many things that are repeated to them over and over and over again on the internet that it starts to drive them insane, whereas it doesn't happen in person, so they're totally different.
Okay, wait. So I'm totally on board for the second half of that. What happens with Chinese water torture and dots?
They lay someone on like,
never heard of
a
this?
bench and they get
I don't know if
drip
that's Chinese, is
on
it?
the top of their head repeatedly. It's a kind of
They just
torture.
like drip water on your forehead.
Right. And it doesn't sound bad. The point is when it happens enough,
Like a
it drives you
billion
crazy.
I've heard of this.
It's an interesting
How that's
point.
Is that a
related
sex?
to this.
Is that a sex thing?
Well, that's why I think he's a dick.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah,
not a
no.
sex thing.
So,
No,
I
it's
mean,
a
like,
torture
I was
thing.
going to say I totally buy that philosophy. Like that is probably something that happens. But for Kamiya specifically, I know for a fact that he thinks it's just hilarious.
Well, that makes him mean.
No, it's funny because like
Aw.
he's not really being. I mean, he's not really being a dick. I think he's just like if you read them and think that he's just trolling people, which he is. I think it's funny.
Also, on Twitter, you have a right to block someone.
He's being sarcastic.
Someone told me I bullied them the other day because I muted them.
You are a bully,
Yeah,
though. You
that's
bully
not how
me.
this works.
I just muted him.
Yeah, it was
But anyway,
me.
I think this is really sweet in that he kind of apologized and was like, I'm sorry for letting you down. I hate the idea that Dev thinks that they should do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's so sad.
It's one of those, like, you don't actually
your
owe us
fault, dude.
anything.
Yeah.
I feel. I mean, not only in terms of the devs, but just like, can you imagine when I saw that game? Like, it seemed pretty far along. Like they canceled this. I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 or 80% into the development.
If
of
you're
it.
showing a
Like, they
gameplay
were
chunk on stage
getting there.
at E3, I mean, it's pretty surprising that a game like that.
I mean, it sounds like its reach extended its grasp. It was a little too ambitious. It was this online Dark Souls-y multiplayer, 4-player,
Yeah.
dragon RPG.
giant open world. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fantasy like setting. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I mean,
Hopefully we find out more information.
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
it's
this is going to be an
hard.
interesting story a couple years from now.
it's really hard. I mean, I really like that idea of the. I mean, I love. You're totally right in that it's possible that they aimed too high, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if a dev like that, like with such high pedigree and such an incredible single mind like Kamiya, with Microsoft's backing, like what is too high in that situation, right? Like, I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.